18 of 31 Wild Halloween Review Nights. Well, today is the last day that we are talking about the Halloweentown movies. So let's just get into it then. This is Return to Halloweentown. Released in 2006, the final chapter in the Halloweentown story has Marnie being accepted to Witch University in Halloweentown. Her mom, though against the idea, allows Marnie to attend, so long as her brother Dylan agrees to enroll himself and watch over Marnie. As she begins a new adventure and hopes to improve her magic and learn new spells, things are definitely not what they seem. For one thing, performing and using magic is against the rules, as the university has become more than just a school for witches and warlocks. Plus, right under her nose is a club at the school known as the Dominion, interested in a box that reads S. Cromwell. Inside is a gift that contains a magic power only a Cromwell can use. With that gift, a plan to take over Halloweentown is put into play, and Marnie is the only one who can stop it. Well, thank God they stayed in the same house for this movie. Also, interestingly enough, they do not give us a time range to how long it's been since we've last seen them. Each film has had a 2-year gap in between each other. Like, there at no point in the film where they're like, oh, it's been 2 years since the Knight of the Iron Dagger attacked and so. I mean, the events of the third movie are definitely brought up, but they don't give us a specific time range on how long it's been. I'm pretty sure it's been 2 years, though. Now, if you've seen Return to Halloweentown, you are going to notice one big change to the story. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't make a comment or a joke about how she's changed her look physically. Like, even if she was like, hey, you like my new look, I think I would have probably laughed, but they didn't do that. Where am I going with this? The girl who plays Marnie in the first 3 films, she's nowhere to be found. Instead, they replaced her with somebody else. A young lady named Sarah Paxson is in the role of Marnie in this final Halloweentown adventure. Kimberly J. Brown was the original Marnie. She stuck through with that role in the first 3 Halloweentown films, and for some reason she just wasn't included in this one. You can't even argue that maybe she outgrew it, she had no interest, she wanted to do more serious roles, because I read somewhere that she was actually not informed about the 4th movie, and when she found out she was being replaced, she was very disappointed. She just wasn't offered the role. What are you doing, Disney? How does Sarah do in the role, though? Well, if I gotta be completely honest, there were a few times where I sat there saying, that's not my Marnie. That's not the Marnie that I know to save Halloweentown 3 times. Actually, it was 2 times. The last time, she was just trying to... No, I guess, yeah, saving Halloweentown to an extent. You know, making sure nothing happened to the teenagers she was looking after. At the same time, though, Sarah Paxson didn't do that bad of a job playing Marnie. It would have been nice to see Kimberly in the role again. So I don't quite understand the logic there. I thought she played a pretty good Marnie. You know who else isn't in this film? Emily Roski. She plays Marnie and Dylan's little sister, Sophie. She was rarely in the 3rd movie, and now she was just completely taken out of this film. It wasn't the director's choice, though. According to what I read about her, apparently Roski retired from acting and moved to Arizona with her family. So because of that, she wasn't in the 4th Halloweentown movie. But she was there in spirit. The character Sophie is brought up a few times. Apparently she's traveling through different dimensions with Grandma Aggie, who also, unfortunately, was not in this film as much as I thought she would be. Grandma Aggie is essentially the character that holds together those Halloweentown stories. Even though in the first 2 films there was some sort of spell put on her to kind of take her out of the story for a bit to let Marnie do most of the work, she still had a big role in these stories. So to see that in this film we get a quick cameo from her, I mean, we see her a few times in this film, especially in one role that I did not expect to see. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed we didn't get to see much of her, because I liked her performance. And I mean, I thought they were going to maybe have her at the end of the film for a really quick cameo, but they didn't do that either. She had a quick cameo in Marnie's dorm. She was also in the pot that Gwen was making, what was it, stew or soup? Grandma's face was in the pot of whatever liquid Gwen was making. Somebody who is in the film, however, is Lucas Grabeel. Did I say that last name right? Grabeel? The High School Musical kid. I don't recall them saying that he was a warlock in Halloweentown High, and if they said it, I missed it. I looked it up, they even referenced it in the film. It's a bit upsetting, though, because we learn at the end of the film that he's basically not a warlock anymore. He gave up his magic. Yeah, that was something a bit upsetting and last minute to throw in at the end of the film. He plays Marnie's love interest in this story, which kind of comes out of nowhere. I mean, it does to an extent, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, you can't control how you feel about somebody, but the whole time I was sitting there watching the scenes with the two of them getting along and somewhat flirting with each other, or at least Ethan flirting with Marnie, I kept thinking, oh, I guess things didn't work out with Cody. Remember Cody? He was the guy that everybody speculated was up to something in Halloweentown High, but turns out he was just a normal, ordinary Joe who just wanted to go on a date with Marnie. Yeah, poor Cody. Now, something I did have a question about in the film that I was going to bring up, but luckily I don't have to make any jokes about it because it was explained. The school that they go to is Witch University, and clearly there are more than just witches there. There are Pumpkinhead kids, there's a troll-like character who burps and drools, there's a genie, there's all these other different magical creatures, which I still can't get over, because in a town called Halloweentown, it should strictly just be for Halloween monsters. It's established because of the past events in these films, the stuff that Marnie's done, bringing somewhat peace between Halloweentown and the mortal world and allowing the portal to stay open. Witches and warlocks are able to go to normal schools and universities to get away from home. Because of that, that caused a shortage in students. They allowed non-magical monsters and creatures to enroll and go to Witch University. But that caused a little damper on the whole witch magic stuff. This is one of the reasons why magic is not allowed at the school. They seem a bit more powerful than all the creatures and monsters that can't do magic. So I was very glad they did acknowledge that. And it took a while for me to realize that too, that this is, yeah, a witch university, but we've already seen scenes of non-witches roaming the campus. I enjoyed the Jesse McCartney song that they played. They play Right Where You Want Me at one point. I have not heard a Jesse McCartney song in years. Does anybody remember Jesse McCartney? He was somebody who was pretty big, and then he just went away. He went on to do bigger and better things. One of those things is Alvin and the Chipmunks. Alright, well here's a question. Do people in the mortal world know about the Halloweentown characters for sure, or do they not? I mean, like, it was mentioned, I believe, once in this film that people are aware that monsters and creatures exist due to the previous film, but there's a scene where Gwen goes grocery shopping and she uses magic to take her grocery bag after she storms out because she's emotionally depressed that her children left her, and the cashier guy just looks like, what the hell was that? Did he not get the message that witches are real and that monsters are real and Halloweentown is a real place? Or was that all just a big fantasy to everybody? After that Halloween, they were like, wow, that was a really good show. Is this running on Doctor Who logic? Do people watch Doctor Who and watch this and understand this reference? Well, sometimes in Doctor Who what happens is when an alien invasion happens and it goes away, people are just like, oh, maybe it was something else. I highly doubt there were aliens. Does it run on that logic? Do they just not believe that what happened in the events of Halloween High are actually true? I want answers, Disney. The last thing I want to talk about in this film, which I hinted at before, was Grandma Aggie and her role as somebody else. So the whole point of this film is the little box that is found in this pit that belongs to the Cromwell family at the university. It says S. Cromwell, so it's somebody from Marnie and Dylan's family long, long ago. And the S stood for somebody named Splendora, who they had to get a little more information about because so much is hidden. Here's a big spoiler for you if you hadn't seen the film yet. I'm warning you now. I normally don't do this. I've just been going out with my spoilers on these films, but I'm letting you know now this is a spoiler. So if you do not want to hear this, mute now or just jump ahead to whenever I stop talking about this part. Alright, you've been warned. Splendora Cromwell is actually Grandma Aggie, which was actually a really big shock to me. I didn't expect that. I love plot twists like that, finding out that somebody turns out to be somebody else that we're aware of. Like, usually they would do that for a villain. Like, had they done it right in Halloweentown 2, if they didn't name Cal and named him something else and he revealed, oh, I'm Calabar's son. If they did something like that, maybe there would have been a little more excitement to that reveal. And there should have been a lot of excitement to this one as well. But the problem is there's not. Like, there's no big shocking moment like, oh my god, you're my grandma. Marnie just kind of goes like, you're my grandma? And like, the young version of Grandma Aggie is played by Sarah as well. So she plays two roles in this film. It really would have been interesting to see Kimberly in the role and have her play Grandma Aggie as well. I think that would have been pretty cool. But yeah, there really wasn't that much excitement over the reveal that Splendora was Aggie. There was no shocking music, no shocking emotion from Marnie. It was just kind of played off naturally, like, oh, you're my grandma. How interesting. They played it up a little of Marnie revealing to Aggie that she's her granddaughter, but Aggie just didn't really make it a big deal. She was like, oh, cool. I don't know if that's because we're dealing with a magical world and nothing surprises these characters, but I think that was a missed opportunity to make it extremely exciting and to hype up that scene. Nevertheless, though, that was a pretty interesting little plot twist there. I didn't see it coming. And also, I like the little nods to how Marnie essentially created things that we already have seen in the film, like the nickname for the skeleton, Benny. Also, we see the big pumpkin. That's essentially the icon statue in Halloweentown that we've seen in, I can't say every film because it wasn't in the third one, but you get what I mean. It's the pumpkin, the big iconic pumpkin that everybody associates the film with. That's given to Grandma Aggie. Yeah, so those were just some thoughts and notes that I had on the film. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining to watch. Really big shame that we don't have Kimberly J. Brown in the role of Marnie, like I said before. That in no way means that Sarah Paxton did not do a good job in the film. I think she did pretty well. Just a little disappointing that we didn't get to see the Marnie from the beginning go through the whole entire story. It would have been a little more satisfying to see that. Return to Halloweentown is pretty good, and I liked it. And that's it. With that all said, that brings us to the end of the Halloweentown movie discussions. I've seen all 4 Halloweentown movies now. I've made it up to my childhood. I have seen these films. I can relate to people who have seen them now when they were younger. I can't say that I've seen it when I was younger, but I can say it with one of them, but I can't say it with all of them. I can happily say I was a grown man when I saw all the Halloweentown films. Yeah! What I'd like to do now before I wrap up this video is give just my general thoughts on the series as a whole, because this was an interesting journey I went through with these 4 films, and I do have some notes that I think don't necessarily apply to any specific film, but I think just all the films in general. One thing that's kind of unrelated, though, that I want to start off with is it's been a really, really long time since I've seen a Disney Channel original movie. I think the last one I saw in full was Teen Beach Movie, and that was it. I didn't look back after that. That movie on its own is something. But yeah, I like the nostalgic feel of watching, especially the first two films. You can definitely tell from the progression of how the first Halloweentown was and the last Halloweentown, when it comes to the tone of the films, they're very different. And the stories get a little more darker and mature. I like that. I like how, seeing that the characters are growing up along with us, it seems like the stories fit better for these characters who have clearly grown up since we first seen them. The next bit are two specific characters that I'd like to talk about, that being Debbie Reynolds as Grandma Aggie and Joey Zimmerman as Dylan. They are probably my favorite characters. Not just because they've been in every film. I believe it's those two and the woman who played Gwen, the mom. Those three were the only ones who were in every single Halloweentown film. If I have to choose any favorites, my favorite would probably be Dylan in the films. The way that Dylan's character is portrayed in these films, he gives off the annoying brother type of character with the facts that he throws at Marnie and just the logic on how, like, oh, I don't think we should be doing this, let's do this, we should do what we're told. He's got that kind of attitude, and he's definitely a nerd kid. He's into school stuff. He's not really fond of the whole magic side of his family. He does want to be normal. But sticking with the idea that he's portraying the annoying, factual brother, if done right, he can come off as a very likable character. However, they could have easily have done this character wrong by making his personality a bit too much, making him say facts that were just not necessary, or making him annoying for not just the characters in the film but also to us. It could have been very different the way that this character was given off to us, and I really like the way that his character was. Yeah, I like the character Dylan, and I think Joey Zimmerman plays a good Dylan. I think he does a great job in these films. He is probably my favorite character in the Halloweentown series. I gotta give props to Debbie Reynolds, though, who plays Grandma Aggie. I think she was really great as well. She never lost her temper. She did get mad in the films, but there was never a big fight between her or anybody else. She got into little arguments with her daughter Gwen, who is the mom, if I didn't make that clear before. But she was always very calm, and, you know, more importantly, she was a grandma. She had those grandma elements to her. She was fun, she was lovable, she was all around the place, just like, oh, let's do this, this will be a lot of fun. And yeah, that's why I'm a little disappointed we did not get to see a lot of her in this film. I was looking forward to that. She's a very lovable character. And lastly, what I want to say about these films is, while I can't say I find them nostalgic because I technically didn't grow up with them, I can see why people would find them nostalgic. There are a lot of memorable bits in these films, a lot of cheesy but funny jokes. Again, the characters are very memorable. There are iconic things in this film. The big pumpkin statue that sits in Halloweentown, for instance, that's a big thing. I see that in Halloween posts all the time. When people on the internet, they're like, oh, it's Halloween season, you know what that means, you know. That's always one of the photos that I end up seeing. It's a cute, fun series, and if you haven't seen the Halloweentown films, you should definitely check them out. They're all on Disney+. If you've seen them, let me know if you like them. If you didn't like them, which film was your favorite? Personally, for me, I don't have a favorite. I avoided doing a ranking for these films because there's no film that I liked more than the other one. They were all fine. Yeah, I mean, it's a cute series. It's fun. It's definitely full of Halloween love. And you should definitely check them out if you haven't seen them yet. Something else I should also mention that I also should bring up because it relates to this project. Disney Channel not only just has the Halloweentown movie series, they got a few other films that are fun to watch around Halloween. Like, I know they have the Twitches movies. They have Twitches and then Twitches 2. Not Twitches as in twitching, but witches that are twins. Twitches. I didn't make it up. There's a movie about a phantom in a cinema. There are a few interesting Disney Channel Halloween films. I'm bringing those up not just to let you know that these aren't the only Halloween films that you can watch. I'm mostly bringing them up to inform you they are not being discussed here. I was only going to talk about the Halloweentown films, but yeah, I'm aware that Disney Channel had a few Halloween films, or films that are watched and aired around Halloween that could have definitely helped fill up this project. But it's alright, because I got some other interesting films and specials that we have yet to touch upon yet in this project. It's only night 18. We got, how many more? I think we got 13 more nights. Oh boy. Well anyway, that's the end of this video. That's the end of the Halloweentown series. But that's not the end of Halloweentown as a whole. I mean, it's the end of this Halloweentown, but there is another Halloweentown. It's got no relation to this Halloweentown. It's a completely different Halloweentown that exists in a different universe. A very unique universe where each holiday seems to have their own world. And in this Halloweentown, it's filled with creepy monsters and a weird mayor that has two faces, only two emotions, ragdoll, ghost with a red nose, and a very tall skeleton who wants something more in his life. If you have a good idea what Halloweentown I'm referring to here, you might have a good grasp on what tomorrow's topic will be like. I've been looking forward to this discussion. Well, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.